I drifted in and out of a troubled sleep that night. Even with the blanket pulled up to my chin, I felt chilled and afraid. It felt so weird to have two strange guys in the bunk sleeping where Jay and Colin had slept. I was worried about my missing friends. What had happened to them? Why hadn't they come back? As I tossed relentlessly in my top bunk, I heard howls off in the distance, animal cries, probably coming from the forbidden bunk. Long, frightening howls carried by the wind into our open bunk windows. At one point, I thought I heard kids screaming. I sat up straight, suddenly alert, and listened. Had I dreamed the frightful shrieks? I was so scared and confused. It was impossible to tell what was real and what was a nightmare.
You can't scare me, not with the basement of botany. Maybe a sentient dummy calling all creep.
Boo dudes,
Hey,
welcome to Calling All Creeps.
brought to you by the powers of the internet.
I am Matt here as always with my co-host Dave.
That's
Dave,
me.
how you doing? How you feeling? You're a little under the weather.
Not great. This is our first remote episode.
Yeah, Dave's
Went
in
home-
quarantine.
I went home sick from school on Friday.
Nice.
I work at a school, so when I go home sick, it's go home sick from school. Feels good.
Yeah, it's like you're still living out your childhood dreams, and you can just watch MTV music videos and call your friends on your landline phone.
I just went right to sleep.
Or that works
Like
too.
old people stuff. I didn't even do anything cool. But I did beat Resident Evil 2 this morning, so...
Oh, how is that?
Oh, it's
Spooky?
really good. It's very spooky. I loved it. I used to be afraid of the old one, but I played it on Nintendo 64. So back then, those squares used to scare me. Now that they're
Yeah.
full-fledged people, real spooky.
Wait, is this
Highly
on Switch?
recommend. No, this is on PlayStation 4. They
Oh, okay.
remastered it. So they changed up... The plot's kind of the same, but they changed up story elements. There's, of course, like a Game Plus, like a second playthrough. So I have to do that now. That's the
cool.
Resident Evil games, unless it's like a bullshit one, like it's like Revelation.
Yeah.
Where like I'm like, who's gonna have a revelation just to be like, aha, a zombie, the
Yeah.
T virus. I love it, but
This works well with our podcast because that's you're living some nostalgia there with
definitely.
I set up my Nintendo 64 in my living room, and it was very difficult because my TV is new, and like the red, yellow, and white plug-in, the AV cables, like don't exist
Yeah.
anymore on TVs.
No.
So I had to get like an adapter for it's like a whole thing. And it looks like shit, but it really brings back memories.
No, it definitely does. And yeah, Resident Evil 2 was the first one that I really played like hands-on, because I played Resident Evil the original on PlayStation at my friend Greg's house.
Greg, shout out Greg, friends with
Shout out to
Bird,
Greg.
and all the crew from Say Cheese and Die.
I used to go over his house. We literally would only play Resident Evil and Earthbound. That was
What was
like
Earthbound?
Earthbound, dude. It's where Ness is from. I know you're a Smash Brothers boy.
Sure.
It's I think it's Mother 2 according to Japan, but yeah, very good, very hard JRPG where you learn about friendship.
Aw, sweet.
Speaking of friendship, camp.
Yes. Camp Nightmare is our book. Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Did you ever go to camp when you were a kid, Dave?
Oh, hells yeah. Dude, I'm an Eagle
Stay over
Scout.
camp? Yeah. That required camping?
Oh yeah, there was always summer camp. A full week of summer camp every single summer.
Oh.
In tents that were literally on like pallets. There were
Like-
like two pallets put together with just the top tent and like cots in it pretty much. So
Okay.
it's like you're basically just in like a little big umbrella when
Right.
you're outside. I remember one of the younger kids was afraid of a spider in his tent, and I went in and I was like, oh, it's no big deal, and I just like smashed it.
Yeah.
And then like one of the adults came through and they're like, is that spider still here? And I was like, oh, I killed it. They were like, no, we had to get rid of it. It was a black widow. I
Oh,
was like,
shit.
oh shit.
See, this is why like I can't do it. I'm too sheltered, and I never went to sleepaway camp. I did like day camp stuff, but
I remember we used to bring like our Game Boy Advance and like a Pokemon and chill outside, bring some boom boxes and play like Blink 182 and hang out outside. And,
hell
like,
yeah.
Yeah. We used to do crazy stuff, sneak out at night and Well, we said in the last one, we used to go to Camp Novi Bosco, and where Friday the 13th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Cool. It's cool.
That's pretty rad.
But yeah, so camping that also, but this camp kind of reminded me more of band camp,
yeah.
except nobody was like getting their knob slobbed, which people always joked about, but that was a very band camp thing.
Yeah. Oh, you mean knob slobbing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah. A lot of flesh at band camps.
Mm-hmm. But I was on drumline, which if you hear that now, you're like, oh, that's really lame. But there, you were kind of like, like now I feel like there's nerds, and there's nerds that play Dungeons and Dragons, but then there's other nerds that LARP.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if we were at like a LARPing place, like a LARPing forest or whatever, where the people pretend to be wizards, we would be like the Dungeons and Dragons guys that were like fucking nerds.
Fucking LARPers.
Yeah.
Why don't they play a real game?
Pretty much. But yeah, welcome to Camp Nightmare.
Welcome to Camp Nightmare. A place that has no setting. There's like all different kinds of like geographic landscapes and like climates and different topography, right? They're like in the desert 1 minute and then they're in the forest the next.
I was really curious about where it was. Originally, I was going to say California.
Yeah,
which
like, could be because California's wild, where it's like part of the state is like super cold, and then it's like super hot, and then it's like parts are like super high, and then there's valleys and whatever.
Also, they said that the lodge in this was like redwood, and I was like a redwood tree? That's what made me lean into it. But anyway, I don't want to give too much away, so let's talk about time and place.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jump in.
I feel like it's crazy just going back to you and me after last episode with Jackie Hincapi, good friend.
Good
Jackie.
Islanders
fan. Jackie, I think that was, out of our most modern episodes, one of our most listened to. So I'd love to thank Jackie again.
That was, purely Jackie brought in the people.
People love Jackie.
Because she's delightful. Who wouldn't like Jackie?
She is. And we'll have more guests coming forward. But
yeah, for
this
sure.
book, I'm glad we didn't have a guest because it was pretty mediocre. But
I feel like this is going to be a short one.
Let's plow through this.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome to Camp Nightmare, released July of 1993. The song was Weak by SWV.
I can't wait until I know what these songs are.
So
I was alive. I don't know.
I usually know what the songs are, and this one I had to listen to. I couldn't even give you a melody. It's like a very 90s R&B hit.
Okay.
Where it's just kind of like... This
was
like, there's
number
no real
one?
melody. It was number one for most of the month.
Wow.
And SWV stands for Sisters with Voices.
Okay.
The movie was The Firm,
featuring
Tom Cruise.
It's about my ass. I've been doing a lot of squats.
Very firm ass. But it sucks that there wasn't one the month before.
Yeah, I mean, we assume it was June, that was June, but they fucked up, right?
Well, no. They didn't fuck up. That was actually the release date. Because the month before was June 1993, which of course Jurassic Park blew everyone's asshole out. Movie
Hold
of
on
the
to your
month
butts.
and some. But now moving on to the fun facts, just throwing one in there. Welcome to Camp Nightmare is the first book that starts the book a month that R.L. Stine kept up until book 62.
Oh, okay. So he had breaks in between the first 8.
He did. It was like a free-form release date, so some of them did come out same months.
Yeah.
Skipped months. But this is the point where, with Scholastic, he had a deal to do one per month, all the way up to that 62. So, July 4th, the Pizza Hut blimp deflated and landed on West 56th Street in New York City.
Exciting.
July 5th, day after our nation's birthday, Bjork released her first solo album, Debut.
Okay, cool.
She's been kicking for a while. And this blows my mind because didn't we just hit it's the 20th anniversary of The Sopranos this year?
Today is, you said?
No, this year.
Oh,
is the 20th anniversary of The Sopranos. That's why they have a movie coming out, things like that. But July 27th, there was a mafia bombing in historic areas in Rome, Milan, and the Vatican.
Whoa. Holy shit.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, that's wild.
There was still the mafia bombings. That's insane.
Attacks on the Vatican. That's very that'll be the next Mission Impossible movie. Yeah. Which are fucking great, by the way. But I don't know how that storyline would be, but I feel like that would fit in some movie.
So because I've been sick, I've been watching movies that I know aren't good, but like sick movies.
Sure.
So I love the first Pacific Rim. We saw
Man.
it together.
Yeah, it's so good. It's one of my favorite movies.
Do you remember watching Pacific Rim and then I hit... Actually, Matt, you've been in my car when I've hit the gnarliest potholes I've ever hit in my life.
That's right. That's our friendship started hitting potholes in
When you
your
met your
hometown.
wife for the first night, I hit such a hard pothole that I lost 3 hubcaps on my 88 Camry.
And we didn't even notice.
We didn't
We
notice.
noticed the pothole, but
Yeah, because it scared the shit out of us.
Yeah.
Like my sun visor flew down. We hit such a hard pothole.
Yeah.
This one actually dented my rim, and it was on the way home from Pacific Rim. It was fun.
How appropriate.
Yeah, that's what I remember. So I watched Pacific Rim 2.
yeah, more
I
like
think
Terrific Rim. Go on.
Pacific Rim 2 sucks.
It does. I watched it. Yeah, it's bad.
It's not great.
No, it was really like phoned in, you know. But none of the people who were associated with the first one were associated with the second, right? Like Del Toro was maybe a producer or something.
He was a producer. And anytime Del Toro makes a monster, which I don't know if people would want to do this, but he's doing the Scary Stories children's book.
Yeah,
I would love to dive into that for an episode.
for sure. That
If we
was
wanted to.
very formative. Pre Goosebumps, I liked Scary Stories.
And what's the full title? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some stories. That would be a fun podcast or something to do with some people. So if people
Yeah.
are interested or people have favorite stories, maybe send stuff in to us.
Get at us. We'll be able to do that. That's cool.
But yeah, Guillermo del Toro, I love his monsters. Bought all of his Penguin Classic horror covers.
Yeah.
Did those for them. Awesome.
You know
Anyway,
what's similar that reminds me of... I love, in sort of the same way I love Pacific Rim, is did you ever see Edge of Tomorrow?
No.
I brought this up on the J Squad episode when I created and killed J Squad. That's from Edge of Tomorrow. It's an insane, really good movie about an alien invasion, and like Tom Cruise lives the same day again and again because like the alien's blood touches him, and they live the same day again and again. It's great. It's so good.
I'll just check that out.
Yeah, it'll
I
scratch
like
the
this
same itch.
episode because the book kind of sucks and nothing really happens, so we get to just be us.
Yeah, because you know what? The plot of this book is like it's the same chapter like 10 times, and I could just say that, or how many chapters in this? 15 times, whatever. I could just say like kid shows up to camp, his friends start to disappear, and then I could just give away the ending, and we basically there's some nuance here and there, but we'd basically be done with the plot.
We would be. But anyway, our whole Tom Cruise thing, I brought it up because I'm thinking I might want to watch The Mummy.
The Mummy. I'm
Tom Cruise
curious
Mummy.
about it. I think we'd be disappointed, but still better for the experience.
I love me some Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I need to know. So anyway, that was a long little aside. So the name came from a visit to RLS's son's sleepaway camp.
Okay.
So he sent his son to a sleepaway camp that was infested with bugs.
Okay.
And he was just like, wow, this is like Camp Nightmare. And he was like, aha, I did it again.
Eureka.
I found it. This book started the monthly release schedule, as we said before. In 2003, they reprinted this book, and they mirrored the art. I think it's always weird. Those 2000 releases, they always change up things. Sometimes it's just the art. Sometimes it's internal, like we learned in our last episode.
Yeah.
Like they straightened out Slappy's face.
Right.
In this one, they
yeah.
mirrored it, but there was a whole new border. It was a new look. It's just interesting that they did that. But the cool thing is that it actually had a new tagline, which I thought was cool when I first read it.
The white print on the front is different on the reprint?
Yeah, it was next summer, you'll stay home if you survive.
Okay.
Which has no bearing on the actual plot.
Yeah. This says, it's the little camp of horrors, exclamation point.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it's cute.
Makes more sense.
It's a play on Little Shop of Horrors, I assume. Yeah, it's fine.
All right. So that's all I got. Nothing
Cool.
really exciting about it.
Yeah.
No Twilight Zone episode inspired by notes.
It's not an inspired book, if I could
It really isn't.
say that, especially compared to... I mean, versus all the others we've read so far, what do you think this is? Second worst?
Second worst.
Behind.
I texted you this morning.
Behind Let's Get Invisible?
Let's Get Invisible is the worst. This is second worst.
Yeah.
Which, if people are interested, we may do a breakdown after we do 10 episodes. Or 10 books. Because we've scurried off into modern RLS. But every 10 books, we might just give you a recap. And we'd love to hear from you guys. If you want to send us sound clips or anything, we'll play it on the pod. And we do have some shout outs at the end of the episode, so if you're already bored, stick by or fast forward.
Yeah, if you want to send us, open your voice memos app in your phone, record yourself giving us your favorite book and reason why, or any whatever you have to say about Goosebumps. Honestly, like treat it like a voicemail, and then email us at callingallcreepspod@gmail.com. That's it, right?
Yeah, or it might be Call Creeps Pod.
Send to both.
Send to both. I can hold on. I'll bring it up right now, motherfuckers. Callcreepspod@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in possibly Calling All Creeps live event, we may have some info for you coming up. So.
Yeah, coming up once that's all nailed down.
Yeah, talk about coming. Let's get to this plot. So
let's do it.
Blow this load. All right. So there's a plot. There's kids on a bus.
So there's a plot.
There is a plot, I guess.
Yeah, it is kids on a bus. And yeah.
After you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're rolling through the desert. There's a kid named Billy. That's our protagonist. And they're literally on a yellow school bus. So picture the faux leather seats with duct tape over them. And
no seatbelts.
No seatbelts. The bus has never been cleaned. And there's like dust flying all over the place. And you're rolling through the desert. Billy and his pals. So he's got actually a crew there on the bus, right? It's like Jay and
Colin.
And what's the R in it? Roger. And
no, Roger's not there yet.
Oh, all right.
It's Billy, Mike, Colin, and Jay.
Okay. And Dory and Dari. what's
Dory and Dawn. Dory and Dawn are up
Yeah.
front. So there's 4 girls on the bus and the rest are boys. It's a camp they're going to. It's separate. I liked this description. I'm not going to remember later because this is the boys were a lot louder than the girls, cracking jokes, laughing, making funny noises, shouting out dumb things. It was a long bus ride and we were having a good time.
Yeah.
So making noises, they were just making loud farts.
Yeah. Yeah. Screaming. There's girls on the bus, and at this age, you're definitely going to flirt. There's flirtatious energy, but your way of flirting might be like to try to be funny and hope that they hear you be funny so that they love you.
It also says shouting out dumb things.
Yeah.
My guess is the penis game.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Whoever can
Classic.
scream penis the loudest, for those who are not familiar.
Yeah.
Page 3 at the bottom, it says, Jay teased Colin a lot and kept wrestling with him, gripping Colin's head in a headlock and messing up Colin's bandana. You know, period. Just kidding around, period. I fucking hated that.
Just some gentle razzing.
Yeah, just ribbing.
So I guess we're introduced to our characters. Billy's our main boy.
Billy's our boy.
Do we even get a description of what he looks like? I don't even think so.
I don't think so.
Mike looks like a bulldog, is chubby, wears a muscle shirt, and scratches himself like a dog.
Yeah, he's a fucking untamed idiot.
Jay is the redheaded meathead. He has blue eyes. He's a muscle boy. He loves sports and ladies.
Yeah, but nothing about our boy Billy.
No. And then Colin, tell me if you got this vibe. Colin is dressed... I want to say that yet, but he's got long hair, silver aviator, so you can't see his eyes, a red bandana tied across his forehead.
Yeah. A lot of like Axl Rose wannabes in this.
Well, I said he's dressed like the guy that dies first in every Vietnam War movie.
He is. He's dressed like Danny McBride, like when he's being a fucking idiot and like making fun of people with those stupid like Oakley sunglasses. That's what I was like picturing. And like a cut off sleeveless shirt and big baggy cargo shorts. On page 44, it says about Colin, he reached up and pulled off his silver sunglasses for the first time. He had bright sky blue eyes like big blue marbles, which sounds nice, but he's always wearing these fucking sunglasses. Very Guy Fieri. He probably puts them on the back of his head.
Gotta love Guy Fieri, friend of the pod.
Yeah, and no hate or disrespect to Guy. I think he gets shit on unjustly.
I think so. I want to bring up something that has nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah, please. Let's get away from this book.
So the first scare, they finally stop in the middle of the desert for no reason. And the bus driver turns around.
Oh, so glad you're bringing this up.
Wearing a mask that I can only describe as Bebop from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yep. Complete with...
And he just scares them.
Yeah. This was a hard sell for me because it presupposes that kids don't understand what masks are.
Yeah.
And it's a hard sell. It says, then we heard laughter at the front of the bus. This is after saying like, oh, there's a monstrous face that we're seeing, et cetera, et cetera. And Mike says, he's turned into a monster. Then it says, I raised myself up in time to see the bus driver reach one hand up to his bright blue hair. So yes, definitely Bebop. And he tugged, and his face slid right off. And then kids shrieked in horror.
By the way, he was like a pig face with like a mohawk and stuff.
Yeah.
It was Bebop from, just imagine Bebop. That's all you know.
Yeah, but we quickly realized that the face dangling from the driver's hand was a mask. He had been wearing a rubber monster mask. It takes like 2 pages to figure out that it was a mask. And like, I don't know. This is just insane to me.
It's insane to me for one reason and one reason only. So recently in our area, there was a field trip where the school bus was T-boned and kids died, and it was horrific. And since then, they've been going into bus safety and just what buses have seatbelts, this and that. It's just awful. 1993, this guy decides to wear a Halloween mask while hauling children for a full drive.
Through the desert, and I'm not even convinced they're on a road. Might just be through the desert.
Yeah. He's just like, which way? Northwest? On my way.
Got it. Look out for mountains.
So he just dumps the kids off in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
On a platform.
Yes.
Then they get attacked by, like, coyotes.
Yeah, by some weird monsters. This evoked for me... Did you see the most recent Bond movie, Spectre?
No.
At a certain point, they're, like, on a platform in the desert. It's, like, an old, like, bus station or something. And eventually, like, cars come and pick them up. But it's the perfect... It's this image. Like, it's this description in a film.
I thought Tremors.
Yeah,
you ever see that horror movie, Tremors?
Yeah, I saw that
1,000 of them.
Yeah, well, definitely the first couple. I saw a ton in the 90s, like on a Saturday. If you just got the TV
Sci-Fi
on.
Channel.
Yeah, Sci-Fi constantly played them, and they're pretty scary with Kevin Bacon.
They're fun.
Yeah, they are.
And
fun.
the Tremors remind me of like, it's basically how can we turn Ground is Lava into a movie?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so they're about to get eaten by these like badger weasel that are the size of like dogs.
They never say what they actually are. They're just they are like badger weasel like question mark animals.
And they're about to get eaten. They're all like holding together and they're throwing rocks at them. And then all of a sudden a gunshot goes off.
And Uncle Al shows up. Inexplicably named Uncle Al. There's no reason to call him Uncle. But Uncle Al with a rifle. First appearance of a gun in a Goosebumps book so far?
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually tweeted about this, if you follow me, Creepy Uncle 23s on Twitter, because I was wondering if RLS knew Chekhov and the art of Chekhov's gun, which, were you in that modern drama
I did take modern drama, yeah.
class with me?
Yeah. You helped me out once when I had a panic attack and couldn't write my paper. You remember?
No.
Yeah, you finished my paper for me because I had a panic attack and I couldn't finish it. And it was like the day of, and we were like 45 minutes before class, and I just was incapacitated. I was like, can't be done. Got to lie on my bed for an hour. And you're like, don't worry, we'll take care of this. Yeah, it was an experience. So thank you.
I don't remember that, but
well, you're a hero.
Go me. I just remember that me and my girlfriend at that time, no longer, phew.
They dodged the bullet there.
We were very competitive with Pokemon. So I would sit with my like backpack on the desk in college, and I would just. I remember one day I bred like 2 full boxes in my Pokemon PC of Mudkips. I just would play Pokemon in my bag, and we would make jokes about how everybody dies at the end. But anyway, Chekhov's gun, for those who are not aware, is that if a gun appears in the first act, it goes off in the third.
Yeah.
So a gun appears in the first act of this Goosebumps book.
So guess what happens in the third? We won't talk about that yet, but
Uncle Al kills every child.
You do think that initially.
Yeah. And RLS is just like, your move, NRA.
Yes, there are some political statements in this book. And for that reason, I'm boycotting it.
So, shoots. They run away. They're like, there's a new bus here. That's what we came off of. You guys were too busy peeing your bloomers to see it.
That's right.
They all move their stuff on, and then they drive into the camp, which is like 3 minutes away.
3 minutes away, and yet a dense forest.
But also, why drop them off in the middle of the desert to get a new bus to bring them for 3 minutes?
I do not know. This does not
Never
serve any
explained.
function other than
No.
to introduce Uncle Al, I guess. But why not just introduce him at the camp? It's baffling.
Doesn't matter. So they get into their bunk. Lucky enough for them, they're all in the same bunk.
Right.
Our boys. Bunk 4.
Bunk buddies.
This reminds me of my bunk from... I just thought of the bunk from Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Shout out to Christopher Krasminski, my buddy. We used to hang out with his mom when we had our job together, Denise.
That's right. Best
Love
part
you,
of that
Denise.
job, Denise.
Love you, Denise. But, yeah, so we used to just listen to the Ataris and, like, hung out
Hell
and, like,
yeah.
kiss girls in our bunk.
Nice.
So, Larry, we meet Larry. He is their shitty camp counselor.
Aloof is a polite word to describe Larry. True.
I love when he shows up and they're like, what's going on? And everybody at the camp refuses to answer anyone's question. The
Yeah.
only thing he basically says is he's like, don't touch my shit. And then
Yeah.
he leaves.
Yeah. Everyone is very cagey. Like, all the counselors don't want to answer any questions. They're very dismissive.
Yeah.
And they, truly don't give a shit.
Larry is very much like a badass Squidward.
Ooh, he is. I'm getting deja vu from this. I've had a dream, I think, where you described Larry as a Squidward.
Really?
A strange experience for me.
What happened next? Well, actually, also, what happened next in the book? I feel like I've been talking too much. Go for it.
Oh, what happens next? I don't know. They do like 100 relay races, and then they, I don't know, kiss each other and pass out. I don't know.
That's pretty much it.
Well, every chapter is like.
Oh, no, you forgot about the snakes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So
This is when shit gets weird. They set up their bunks. They're like, have it like the military does, because can't. And Mike's bed is full of snakes.
yeah. Well, it's like half prank because there's like rubber snakes in there, and then there's a couple, 1 or 2 real snakes.
I think they were saying, like, oh, shut up. Those are rubber snakes.
Oh,
And
but
they
it's
were real
just 2
snakes.
real snakes. Was there 1 or
Yeah.
2?
2.
That's wild. Yeah.
And Jay is just like, don't be a pussy, and like slaps him on the back.
Yeah.
But Jay doesn't know his own strength, so he just like throws Mike into snakes.
Yeah, and Mike gets bit by a snake.
He does.
And he seeks help and finds out that there's no nurse or quote unquote infirmary because they're in the military at the camp. Larry doesn't care. He says like, I don't know, figure it out. Here's a Band-Aid. And Billy is always sensible and nervous. He's always like, shouldn't he see a doctor? And everyone's like, no, there's no doctor. Like, don't worry about it. He's fine. At one point, Larry's like, this is later in the book, but his hand progressively swells and gets worse. And the last time we see Mike, Larry's like, go sit under that tree and your hand will get better. It's like, what the fuck? Go wish it better, and it'll become better.
So they're hungry, and they go to eat for campfire, and that's where they learn the rules, and they're like, there's a forbidden bunk.
Yeah.
It's fucked. Don't go to it.
And it's like looming in the distance. They could see it. Like, see that scary ass bunk? Don't go in there. And of course, it's like, well, now they all want to go in there. Just don't bring it up. Don't mention it.
Yeah. Also, he says there are bears and people get hurt.
Yeah.
So if a bear shows up, you want to lay down and cover your head.
Right. Put your hands on the back of your head and just lay there. And he's like, I know it's hard because a bear's sniffing you. But if you move, it's going to cut you in half.
Well, no, he says on page 37, he's just like, you don't want to get the bear, the goddamn bear. He says, well, claw your head off.
Oh, that's right.
That's the quote, claw your head off.
Right.
You know he wanted to say fucking.
Yeah.
But they're kids.
Yeah.
Uncle Al's the kind of guy who's be like, you claw your fucking head off.
Yeah. Yeah. He's real. Is he described as having a mustache? That's what I pictured the whole time.
I pictured it too, but I don't think they say it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Also, Eugene Merman, a guy we actually met.
Yeah.
At college.
Eugene in Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, he actually read part of my thesis. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
But he basically only did it so he could see Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, right.
But he has a great bit about how people always say, like, what are you supposed to do when you see a bear? And they're like, play dead. Which is not what you're supposed to do.
Oh, you're supposed to make
like,
a ton of noise, right?
You're supposed to, like, make yourself big.
Yeah.
But he's like, it's crazy because that's like a rumor that bears spread. But they have no access to propaganda, which is what makes it interesting. But yeah, so good. Uncle Al's on the bear side.
He's perpetuating this propaganda.
Of course he is. Everybody goes off to bed. I don't think any shit happens. They talk to Larry about the forbidden bunk, and they say Saber will eat you.
Yeah, a monster named Saber.
Which is like any WCW wrestler at that time.
For sure is. This is definitely a character in WW versus NWO.
Yes, he is. And they don't really talk about it. I thought Saber was going to be the main plot point of this book.
Yeah, I did too. And especially with the cover. So both our covers have like a monster on the front with a hand reaching into a tent.
Yes.
And at some point, so they've established the monster, and then at some point they all go camping, but the monster doesn't show up.
Not really, no. The next day they play scratch ball.
Yeah. Also, scratch ball, baseball for idiots.
It kind of makes sense. I thought about it, and I was like, yo, if I was a gym teacher, I would do scratch ball forever, because you don't have to pitch. No one has to hit. Mm-hmm. No one's going to get hurt. It's basically, you play baseball, except you can only get home runs, and instead of hitting the ball, you just throw it as hard as you can.
You throw it as hard as you can,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm burping too.
I feel like it'd be just constant outs, right? Like you're just lobbing it up. But
I would throw it right at Larry's fucking junk. Fuck Larry.
Well,
fuck you, Squidward.
Funny you say that, because during this game, this is the game, right, where Colin, right? Colin throws it.
Yeah.
And Larry catches it or gets him out somehow. He like throws it to base or whatever. And they have a dispute where Colin's like, I wasn't out. And Larry's like, you were definitely out. But they were like screaming at each other. And Billy thinks this is what happens, a friendly rivalry.
Sports game.
A sports game. We're doing sports. Everyone's having a good time. Mm-hmm. And Larry, though, has secretly taken this to heart, is very mad, and throws the ball as hard as he can at Colin's head, and Colin passes out, face down, does not move. So we have another say cheese and die situation here.
Very abusive.
Where a kid is hit in the head and you think he's dead.
Also, Billy's like looking at Larry's face, and he's like, he sees that moment where the serial killer look goes into his eyes.
Yeah, he sees
and he
the
just
intent.
pegs him in the back of like where the fucking, that predator spot.
Yeah.
That they reach in and rip out right where the spine meets the skull.
Yeah, the soft part of the baby's head.
And so he's knocked out. He's pretty much dead. And they're like, well, maybe you should go see Uncle Al and feel better. He gives him a a pass to go, and Mike, who's laying just in like the shade, is like, well, my hand's the size of my fucking ball sack right now.
Which is to
it
say,
looks like a
giant.
large.
Yeah, he's packing.
Well, they say that in the beginning. They're like, Mike, the child with the biggest ball sack.
Yeah,
in
they
the
do.
Bus.
Yeah, it's like, are those truck nuts? He's like, no, these are my nuts. I just hang them off my dick.
So they leave. Whatever.
Yeah, but definitely that kid is concussed. Like they need
He
to
is.
like drain the blood from between his skull and the top of his head.
They also have to guide him around for a day because he sees double.
He sees double. He like can't move. He's sluggish. It's like that was the most stressful part of the book, I think.
It was intense. So they go to dinner, and dang fool, Billy spills purple juice all over his goddamn wiener.
And then everyone's like, "You purpled your pants." Did you see this on page?
Yes, I did.
59. Billy had an accident, Roger cried out, and everyone laughed. Yeah, he purpled in his pants, Jay added. Really insane.
There's only one person that can purple his pants. Rest in peace. Rest in power, Prince.
Yeah, I was gonna say I purple my pants, but no, that's true. That is reserved for Prince.
It is.
And it died with him.
So he runs back to get some extra pants, and he opens up the wrong drawer. All Mike's shit is gone.
Right. Yeah, so his buddy Mike, who's bitten by the snake, is gone. He hasn't seen him for a while. Now his stuff's gone, so he's worried.
Yeah. Heads back to camp, or lunch, or dinner, or whatever the fuck it is,
Yeah.
and they're like, Mike, never heard of him.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Also, the dinners are always ghastly. It's always like, I was eating like a fried turd and mashed potatoes that were made out of fucking corn stalks. And but the breakfasts are like bountiful and delicious. It's strange.
It's like, for dinner, I got a Hot Pocket filled with Swedish fish that was stuffed in with a man's lame penis.
Yeah, I had a tortilla filled with pubic hair and my mom's vomit. And then breakfast is like the most beautiful French toast with berries. It's like very strange.
So they're like, Mike didn't exist. Fuck you. And then their buddy Roger is just like, yeah, that's kind of weird, but like tonight's camping night, so we have to sleep in tents.
Right.
And at that point, I wrote down, who the fuck is Roger?
Yeah. Who is
And
Roger?
I went through the entire book to figure out who Roger was. And Roger never showed up before.
He was just like, oh, it's camping night tonight, right? And they're all like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, classic Roger. And I'm like, who the fuck is Roger?
I don't know. Yeah.
Roger appears out of nowhere.
I couldn't.
Mike's gone. We get a new Roger.
Yeah. See, I thought he was there from the beginning. Like, I don't even know.
I was so concerned that I went back. I was like, when did I miss Roger?
Yeah.
So they go, and the whole deal is that Jay, who is the tough guy, is telling them, we're going to the Forbidden Book tonight.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And Billy, bless his heart, is like, no, I'll pass. He's like, you know what? I'll sneak into our cabin to sleep in a real bed, and you guys can go to the Forbidden Bunk. And that's what happens.
John Morrison, Colin, is like, you know what? I'd love to, but my concussion hurts.
Right.
So it's only Roger, our brand new buddy, and Jay that decide to go over to the Forbidden Bunk.
Right. And guess what happens? So at this bunk, we should say often there's like screams heard and stuff in the vicinity of this bunk.
You just hear screams and bullshit.
Yeah. So that is what happens. Which one is presumably eaten? One of them lives. Is it Roger?
Roger.
Yeah, Roger is presumably eaten because Jay comes back and is like, the monster got Roger, and I got all like, he's like beaten up or disheveled. And he has like PTSD at this point.
Well, he says that Roger gets like slashed in half pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. What page is that? It's page 70. It's a good description. It's like, because he's like staring into the middle distance and just like rocking on his bed, and Jay's saying, this is Jay who's doing that, and he says, "Don't let it get me," he shrieked, covering his face with his hands. And then he says it again, And then Colin and Billy talk for a little bit. And then again, Jay repeats, "Don't let it get me," crumples to the floor. And then later, he thinks that Saber is coming into the room. And Billy looks at the window and is like, "There's nothing there." It's like he's really selling that he's traumatized.
It's fucked. It's pretty good.
It is good, and it's good on RLS. Like, it's good description.
I wrote in my character sheet, it says, "Who the fuck is Roger?" And under that, because I was like ready to write his description of how he's dressed.
Yeah.
And I just wrote, "Oh, never mind, he's dead."
Doesn't matter. Yeah, I guess that is just
Doesn't
like,
matter.
let me invent a kid real quick and just murder him. Doesn't matter. He'll be in the book for 10 pages.
All right, so chapter 12. They're like, "Hey, Roger got ripped to shreds. Where's Roger?" And the camp counselors are like, "No, Roger never existed."
Yeah, there's no file on Roger. Never heard of him.
Which is pretty on point because we had no fucking idea he existed either.
Yeah.
And then it's swim time, and Dory and Dawn. By the way, I think Dory had the hots for our buddy Billy.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, same shit's happening at our camp. We're going to try and escape. Be safe."
Yeah. And he's like, "You have a fucking fish's name. Get away from me."
So he decides to go to the phone that is against the main lodge, but the phone is fake.
Yeah, Billy's...
It's made out of plastic.
Yeah, he's just like, fuck this. I'm going to call my parents and, just have them come get me. But the phone is a fake.
And Uncle Al sees him and he's just like, "It's a joke we made. It's a joke."
Yeah.
More bullshit happens, doesn't matter. He goes into the camp office and realizes they're told to write a letter every day. None of the letters were sent.
Yeah, there's a big bag full of all the mail that was never sent.
Yep. Colin and Jay get sent on a special hike. They never return.
Billy's...
They go on a...
Sorry.
What were you saying?
I was saying they went on a special... Everyone has like a special event plan for like... They become like individual plans suddenly rather than group games.
Yeah.
So then, they go on a hike, and then Billy's supposed to go on like a canoe trip with his new roommates because Jay and Colin never came back from their hike. And then suddenly, when Billy goes back to his bunk, it's like new guys there.
I didn't even write down their names because who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it's like Zach and fucking Braxton. So
on the canoe trip, Larry falls in the water, and Billy jumps in, remembers that his parents taught him life-saving techniques, and fucking saves them. But the canoe with the kids float away.
It's so
They get
funny.
back to camp, and Uncle Al, he's just like, "What happened?" And Larry's like, "He saved my fucking life."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, where's my fucking canoe?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, the kids were in it." And he's like, "Well, hopefully they're dead and the canoe will come back."
Yeah, he's like, the kids helplessly floated down the river to their doom. And it's like, "That's my best canoe." It's very funny. And
it's a grand finale now.
Yeah, this is the big finale. So there's another quote-unquote special hike where Larry wakes up Billy in the middle of the night, and all the kids go and eat a beautiful breakfast, and then they are filed into the woods, and everyone is handed a rifle. So again, here's Chekhov's gun, and they're really... For a series that has never fucked with firearms before, we're really going full tilt in Welcome to Camp Nightmare.
This is book 9.
Yeah.
9 without the mention of a gun in children's literature.
Yeah. It does make a point
Don't
to
expect
say
it.
that Billy's parents are pretty anti-gun.
And also, before this, they say that Billy's parents are, like, people of science.
Yeah. Right. Very briefly.
Yeah.
So, Uncle Al says, "Hey, Dory and Tori are loose in the woods, and we need to go track them down and get their asses because nobody escapes Camp Nightmoon." And Billy says...
Yeah, we never said it was called Camp Nightmoon.
It's Camp Nightmoon, yeah. And then Billy, to us, starts calling it Camp Nightmare. And Billy's like, "You want us to kill some little girls?" And Uncle Al's like, "Who said anything?" Yeah, it's like, of course you'd assume that, he wants you to kill him. But he's like, "No, idiot. These are filled with tranquilizers. This is a tranquilizer gun." So, that's more normal. So, Billy...
Oh, I'm glad you have one for every child.
yeah. Your,
at this
your
camp.
your army of child soldiers.
Only to tranquilize.
So, yeah. So Billy's just like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to shoot my friends. And then, do you want to tell us what the twist is?
He draws his gun onto Uncle Al.
Yeah.
Pulls the trigger. It just makes a pop noise, and then everybody celebrates.
Yeah.
They're like, hooray, you did it. And there's like a double twist, because they're like, this is actually a government test for you to make sure that you could follow the rules, and now you can travel with your mom and dad as scientists.
Yeah. And everybody comes out of the woods. Like his missing friends are there, his mom and dad. It's almost like an equally fitting ending if you just change like a paragraph in between these events. It could have been Uncle Al shot him in the head and he died and now he's in heaven and like all your friends are here. Everything's okay. And, am I dead? Am I in heaven? It's like, yes, just go to sleep. But
the funny thing is that like everybody's fine, but I would love for a scene of Colin just being like, my head still really fucking hurts.
Yes, everyone is still severely injured. There's no anti-venom for Mike, and he just keeps swelling until he dies.
His half of his face is just numb.
Yeah,
he's talking like JR from wrestling. He's like, oh my god,
my god, King.
But. So there's 3 tests. They were like, first, we need to make sure you could follow rules. So we told you not to go to the bunk. We tried to get you to go to the bunk. You didn't go to the bunk.
Yeah.
Number 2, we want to make sure you're a fucking brave hero. So we had Larry die, but you luckily saved him. God damn it. Good job.
Yeah. And then...
Number
3 is like, you refuse to follow orders when they went against your moral compass. And so that's it. So he can... now go with his parents wherever they want to go.
Where's that?
That is a little planet, maybe you've heard of it, called Earth.
Holy shit.
That's right.
Are you saying that they were aliens?
They're aliens the whole time. It just so happens that everything there is exactly like Earth.
Holy shit.
Yep. So this twist is about a page. Right?
Yeah.
When it's like, you passed this test, so we're going to go do some studies on Earth and you can come. And then I just want to say this. It's so fucking bad. It's the worst ending so far. Laughing, I stepped between my mom and dad and put my arms around them. Earth, ? And exclamation point side by side. It sounds pretty weird, but it could never be as dangerous or exciting as Camp Nightmoon, I exclaimed. We'll see, Mom replied quietly. We'll see. I wonder if you could try less with the ending of a book.
Yeah.
Could there be less effort in dialogue?
So, during the book, I knew there was some big twist because the plot led nowhere.
Yeah.
It was the same thing over and over.
Like a lot of it, I mean, it was sort of middle of the road most of the time. But it could have, with the right ending that built up to like the monster or something, if we went that direction and it was done, I don't know, in a subtle way, it could have been really cool because there was tension here.
There was a lot of tension. Tension was great. I was also thinking the misdirection in the book by calling it Camp Nightmare. There were a lot of things that felt dreamlike.
Yeah.
To the point where this could have not been real. Characters appeared and left, and there's characters that show up, and you don't even know their names or where they came from, but they appeared. And if it was a dream, it would have been kind of like a cop-out, or it felt like a cop-out. But I think it would have been a stronger ending because he really built the groundwork for anything that would have been like a nightmare dream because it's so sporadic. Characters come and go. Things happen and don't matter.
It would make more sense.
It would, and it would have been a really strong dreamlike book. But,
which, like you said, would be cliche and derivative. But this is cliche and derivative, but worse. Like,
yeah, but I would have liked it. We probably still would have been talking about, like, what a generic ending. But at the same time, I would have had some strong things to say about writing a nightmare or writing a dream.
No, I think that would have been fine. Definitely. I mean, because our expectations for these books aren't, we're not comparing them against like a Chekhov's story or like a George Saunders book. It's like, they're kids' books. So that would have been fine. But this is like inexcusable.
one of my favorite horror movies, Phantasm. The first one, very different. They made a franchise out of it, but it ends up that the whole story is told through a child's eyes, retelling the entire horror movie through a dream. And that's something that where first time I saw it, I didn't like it. And then I thought about it, saw it again, and I'm like, this is one of the best fucking horror movies ever, because there's little things that make no sense and are very dumb. But if you think about what a dream entails, or how you would, like, at one point there's like a shotgun shell and he like tapes it to a hammer and then like hits it on the door that's locked.
Whoa,
and blows it open.
that's awesome.
And then he's like driving his brother's hot rod and stuff, and you're like, well, why is this happening? Like, why could it happen? But when you put all the pieces together, you're like, this is like dreaming as a kid. It's a dream about losing your loved ones and losing your family and death and coming to grips with it as a child.
Yeah.
In a dream.
Yeah.
And that's why it's great. And this book would have really fit that.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
No, it went.
But instead, Martians.
Instead Martians. It's established in like a page.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, there was good stuff. We could start with some stuff you liked.
What'd you like?
I thought some of the description was good on page 45. Just little things. The way Larry enters the room on page 45. It didn't say Larry came in. It said Larry loped into the room. Kind of
I wrote that
nice
down
vocabulary. Page 63 describes the night, and he says a wash of pale stars in the sky. The description of the forbidden bunk was kind of cool. That's page 65. They say, at the bottom of the hill, I stopped and gazed up at the forbidden bunk. It appeared to lean toward me in the pale starlight. I listened for the familiar howls that seemed to come from inside it. But tonight, there was only a heavy silence.
That's awesome.
So that's cool. Yeah, page 69. So at the end of chapter 10, I thought this would have been a classic RL, like, gotcha, like false alarm. When Jay comes back from the forbidden bunk and says, like, it tore Roger to pieces, I thought Roger would come up behind him and be like, we gotcha. But then it goes so hard the other direction where they're like, no, Roger got torn in half, as we said before. And then Jay, for several pages, cannot snap out of it. I thought that was a good move on RL's part.
It was really good. I liked page 3 where his parents tell him, do your best. And he was like, why didn't they say have a good time?
Oh, right.
And I was like, that was really cool to set up the plot.
Yeah.
I like that they talk about the forbidden, or the lodge was the large white shingled lodge loomed over the hills. Pretty awesome. I liked the bear will claw your head off.
Yeah.
Where is that? 37. It's just so brutal. I wrote down there's some stuff after it too. It says, you won't be laughing if the bear claws your head off, Uncle Lau said sternly. He turned to the group of counselors outside of the circle. Larry, Kurt, come over here, he said. The 2 counselors climbed over immediately. Shows them what to do with the grizzly bear. That was cool. Loped, I thought was a good vocabulary word. Roger's death and Jay freaking out. I wrote about that as well. Especially this line where he says, he ran up to me still bent forward, his face twisted in horror, his eyes wide and unblinking. His bushy hair appeared to stand straight up. It got Roger, he moaned, his chest heaving as he struggled to straighten up. What did? I demanded. What was it? Colin asked, right behind me. I don't know, Jay stammered, shutting his eyes tight. It tore Rogers to pieces. Jay uttered a loud sob, then opened his eyes and spun around in terror. Here it comes, he shrieked. Now it's coming after us.
Yeah. It's fucked.
Dope.
Yeah, it's cool.
I also like on page 81 how there was an internal dialogue with Billy where he's saying, like, in italics, maybe a cold swim would make me feel better, I thought. Maybe nothing will make me feel better, I told myself.
I like
bluntly.
that too, yeah. The way you talk back to yourself and say, like, yeah, never mind, I'm depressed and terrible.
But also he says this point was pretty cool with the book where they all seem to be having a great time, I thought, watching them line up. So why aren't I?
Yeah.
And even when they're having their breakfast or their diarrhea soup at dinner,
Yeah.
it's always filled with laughter and kids joking.
Yeah.
Like, other people are having a good time. And my last thing is there was a really nice river description on page 109.
I'll be the judge of that.
Oh, shit. Let me see where we are.
Dark water.
Dark water smacked against the prow of the canoe, sending up splashes of white froth. The current grew stronger and we picked up speed. The air was still cold, but the steady work of rowing warmed me. After a while, I realized I was sweating. We rode past tangles of yellow and gray trunk trees. The river suddenly divided in two. We shifted our paddles to take the left branch. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good.
A lot of really good, like the tall rocks that jutted between the river branches. The canoe bobbed and slapped down, bobbed up and slapped down. Cold water poured over the sides.
Yeah.
The sky darkened even more. I wondered if it was about to storm.
In each scenario, he really puts you there because there are little asides here. Like suddenly you're canoeing, or you're playing that stupid not baseball game, or you're in the desert, and he puts you there in that moment.
Yeah, he does.
So that's effective.
And that's the thing about this book. We said originally when we were starting this episode is that it's not a great book plot wise, but it's a well written book.
It's a solid entry. Just that ending undoes a lot of the credit that it's due.
Yeah. And a lot of the good tension built and the tension that's written very well is undone with that too.
Yeah.
So do you have some bad stuff? I feel like we have the first bad thing together. Same thing. Is it page 15?
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's like, and I think it happened a few times in this book, and I was like, I'm not even going to continue to write it. But the dry as cotton pops up.
Yeah, mouth is dry as cotton, which is a RLS mainstay.
Yeah.
To the point, I don't even know if it's bad, but
it's just easy, and it shouldn't happen every single book, assuming that we're reading, a fan of Goosebumps is going to read the series, and it's like, man, this simile, I can't fucking get away from it.
Following us.
I mean, I mentioned a lot of the stuff. I would also say, for as much good description and word choice as there were some that made me scratch my head. Like page 45, Larry grinned in at us is a sentence, which is strange. I don't know really what that means. Every time it's dinner or breakfast, we have to hear about how noisy the mess hall is. It's the same thing. It's like a copy paste job every time they're in there. It's like, enough with this. There are a few times there's like this fourth wall breaking foreshadowing thing, which is done in other books, but pops up only twice in this book, and it takes you out of it because it's not a mainstay, where it's like, little did I know what was in store, ... And it's like, I don't know. That's not for me. Yeah. And then I just wrote about how disappointed I was in the ending.
Mouth dry as cotton. At one point, Arlstein really wants us to know what a snake is. On page 26, he says, the two let out angry hisses, raising themselves high off the bed. They were very long and skinny. Their heads were wider than their bodies. Their tongues flicked from side to side, and they arched themselves menacingly. We're like, oh, I get it. A snake's head is wider than its body. Way to go, bud. That was whatever. But I wrote that Roger was invented to die.
Yeah, which is accurate.
Which reminded me of a song lyric that I really enjoyed. People know Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, but his original band was I'm a Robot. And there's one line in a song that's some people raise cadavers. Which is a great thing to be like, yeah, some people just have these kids that fucking suck and are worthless in life. But I thought about this as just like, Roger was just put in there to die.
For sure.
They were like, and then Roger was like, what's up? And Roger's dead. On page 104, he said that Billy's heart was pounding like a tom-tom.
That's right, yeah.
Weird.
Yep.
And then I think this is a grammatical error, unless I'm wrong. On page 125, he says, a few yards up head. It should be a few yards up ahead,
I
right?
would think so.
A few yards up head.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Is that just me? Am I wrong? 125.
125. I'm trying to find it. Where is it on the page?
After the italics when it says, then leave Camp Nightmare behind forever. At the bottom of that paragraph. I spotted a narrow path into the woods a few yards up head.
Oh, mine says up ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
So I guess this is just in the modern reprint.
They fucked up? That's strange.
They fucked up, which is crazy. Why don't you just
right, what happened there? That's a strange thing.
You can see. Can you see?
Yeah, it says up head.
Italics.
Yeah.
The fuck, guys?
Mine says up ahead.
It's not like they rewrote it. How did
No,
they do
yeah.
that?
How did you do? Like,
All right.
maybe
Gotcha.
stuff happens.
Gotcha, Scholastic.
With like the layout of the page, and they had to like make they had to like hit enter and make a new paragraph, and they probably just fucked it up. But it kind of inexcusable.
So
cool.
we hit the entire book with a whole lot of bullshit in the beginning, and we made it right to an hour.
Did you notice the jizz theme in this book?
No, was there a jizz theme?
Let me take you through it.
Okay.
So, page 59, we talked about purpling your pants. Something that's happened to me many a time.
Okay.
Page 62. Let me take you there. It says, he filled the spoon with pudding, tilted it back, and flung a dark gob of pudding onto Roger's forehead. Jay, you're dead meat now, Roger cried, plunging his spoon into the chocolate goo. And then here, the real finisher. He shot a gob of it onto the front of Jay's sleeveless t-shirt. Then, let's go to page 81.
Okay, let's go.
I stared out at the other guys in the water. Larry and another counselor were setting up a race. I could hear them discussing what kind of stroke should be used. That's it. That's all I got.
Also, there were many times that he used the word wetly. Did you notice that?
No, I haven't noticed that since Stay Out of the Basement, which had the most wetlies.
Well, there was, like, when the girls grab him and they're standing there in their bathing suits, it's like they stood there dripping wetly. It was real weird.
Devin texted me that he was a friend of the pod, was disappointed in me because in Girl Who Cried Monster it said, everything about my dad is big. And we totally skipped over it.
Yeah.
Look, we can't be 6 years old all the time, just most of the time.
Exactly. But we're glad that you guys could be 6'4"
Yeah,
sometimes.
thank you.
So I think it's that time.
Yeah, do Spook and Scare.
Best dressed.
Alternate title.
So what was your Spook and Scare?
My Spook and Scare, page 113. I'll read it to you.
All right.
It's very simple. The tippy top of chapter 18. I jumped without thinking and swallowed a mouthful of the brown water as I went down. That's it. The scariest thing in this book is swallowing river water. Fucking terrible. Worse than the saber. I'd rather die. What was yours?
Mine was on page 52, 53. With a loud grunt of effort, Larry heaved the ball as hard as he could. It struck Colin in the back of the head, making a loud crack sound as it hit. Colin's silver sunglasses went flying in the air. Colin stopped short and uttered a short, high-pitched cry. His arms flew up as if he'd been shot. Then his knees buckled. He collapsed in a heap, face down on the grass. He didn't move. The ball rolled away over the grass. I cried out in shock. Then I saw Larry's expression change again. His eyes opened wide in disbelief. His mouth opened in horror. "No," he cried. "It slipped. I didn't mean to throw it at him." I knew Larry was lying. I had seen the anger on his face before he threw the ball. That was like the murder of Colin.
Traumatizing.
Where they describe it like a gunshot.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Very good.
It is good. And it's scary with the intent that Billy describes on Larry's face. It's really something.
Well written, too. Again, R.L. Stine, well-written book, just plot, could have done a little more. But you got to stay. This also fits into the vein of, we said last episode, where when I was reading through, I expected every single one to end with, like, and I was a ghost the whole time.
Yeah, which, is coming up.
We got 2 in a row. Last one, it was like, whoa, my family were monsters the whole time. And this one's just like, boo, we're aliens. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then next one is Ghost Next Door, so, I mean, not to give anything away, but that's what it is.
Yeah, that's the plot. That's the name of the.
Although I like that one.
Right.
I like the next 2 that we're going to do a lot.
Oh, yeah, they're great. So, after you, Best Dressed.
Best Dressed, page 90, I'm going to say Uncle Al. In
Yes.
this particular...
Yes. Same. I'll put in my book
particular
away.
description. Well, Billy finds the fake phone, and Uncle Al gets him and says, "Billy, what are you doing here?" Uncle Al asked. He was wearing baggy green camp shorts and a sleeveless white T-shirt that revealed his meaty pink arms.
Meaty pink arms was what got me.
That same. Yeah, it's kind of horrifying. I picture them as like weird gelatinous, like pork arms.
All right.
Alternate title.
Alternate title. Mine is Camp Lawsuit.
Good. It's good. I think Camp Nightmare is perfect because this book's a fucking nightmare. Also, I would call it not fucking worth it. Take that, RL.
Got him. We love you.
We do love you, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. So we can do some shouts outs now, right?
You got some shouts outs?
I got some shouts outs. I'd like to shout out listener and friend of the pod, Judy Chong, for sending us the loveliest, best, most heartfelt letter with some very special gifts in it. Some stickers, like 90s vintage Goosebumps stickers that are amazing. You got a lot of Say Cheese and Die in here. You got the mummy in here. You got the hamster from, I believe, Monster Blood 2 or 3.
2.
So just really amazing, really cool. Extreme boo dudes to you, Judy. Really, really appreciate it.
I want to shout out Rico, somebody who worked with us at Apple. He recently reached out because he's been listening to the episodes. I asked him how his son was doing. He had a son way back when we were working there. He's been listening to our episodes, and it's inspired him. He's been reading Goosebumps to his son.
Wow,
and
so sweet.
They've been reading through them together. So awesome. So thank you for listening. Thanks for reaching out.
Very cool.
And last time we skipped it because we went a little long. It's time to give a Goosebumps death. And I think this one goes out to friend of the comic shop, friend of the pod, Rocco. Rocco, I told you his origin story. And it kind of has to do with his review, where 5 stars, he said, what can I say?
Hey, I got a little briefing on Rocco, and he sounds like a cool
Which
dude.
ends in something that has to do with women. It says, I know Dave... Then it just says, what can I say? It says, I know Dave gets it. When I heard my buddy Dave was going on a podcast about a series, Goosebumps, I was automatically intrigued. I only knew of Goosebumps from their rad cover art and raised title. I've only read 2 of the books. When I mean read, I meant like read only 2 pages, then my ADHD kicked in and I've got distracted by a dust bunny. With all that being said, these 2 deliver a 1-2 punch of hilarity and insight into these books. I look forward for each episode. Keep up the great work. Stay groovy, broskies.
Rocco, thank you. Very sweet.
So let's give Rocco a Goosebumps
death. Okay, cool. What do you want to go or want me to go?
No, you always go first because you always go a little loud. So,
all right, cool. So
we're at 110 right now. 110.
Okay. All right. So I'll keep this nice and short, by which I mean 6 minutes.
Yes, that's what I was hoping for.
So Rocco, here's the thing: you wake up, you're feeling like it's Sunday. No, it's Saturday. I want to have a nice day off. I want to go visit my buddy Dave at the comic shop. I gotta fucking get some new stuff to read, and I just want to be social, have a time, right? So you get up. You first thing you do is you have your coffee. You grind your beans. You boil the water. It takes about 3 minutes to boil the water. No. So you're good to go. You're doing your morning routine. You get in the shower, you turn on the water, and here's the thing. Out of the shower head, you think it's going to be water. It's bees. Now, you could have not predicted this. The holes in the shower head are no bigger. They're the same, right? So why are bees coming through? I don't know, dude. Something happened. So the bees come out. At first, you're trying to figure out what's going on. They start to swarm you, so you can't really turn it off. Eventually, you close the door, unfortunately, in the bathroom, and the room fills with bees. The bees enter your ears and your mouth and all of your orifices, and you see them sort of like the mummy style, going up your arm beneath your skin like scarabs, and they start to sting your brain. Here's the thing. You don't die. You become Bee-Man. You start to grow wings. This is very Spider-Man. But you're kind of crazy because like they have some like venom in their stinger and it's directly affecting your brain. So you fly through the ceiling and you keep going up and up and up until you, unfortunately, I'm sorry, you fly into the sun and you burst and die.
All right. So yours started with Rocco, so you wake up. Mine, you don't wake up.
Oh shit! The most peaceful, beautiful death.
No. You're stuck in a dream.
Oh my god.
A wet. So Rocco, you're stuck in a dream where you're just looking at mammaries and genitals, nipples and butts, maybe even a wiener. I don't know. I know you're not into wieners, Rocco, but why not? There's a wiener there. And so you're just like loving it. Rocco's just died and gone to butt and boob heaven. And it gets to the point where you're like, good. You're like, all right, you see one, you see them all. But you can't wake up. You just can't wake up. And this is a wet dream. So, it's like wet. You get through it and, your sheets are bad. But then you start sweating and you're like, all right, and you just sweat it all out in your sheets. And then you start spitting and you just spit all the spit you have. Then your eyes start tearing. You run out of tears. You finally wake up. And you're just a husk of a man because you got all your liquids. You wet dreamed yourself to nothing. And all you are is a little scarecrow.
Damn, you jizzed yourself to
what
death,
a way to
Rocco.
go! What can I say, Rocco? What can I say? But hey, well, like I said, if I know Rocco, that's how I'd want to go.
Cool. R.I.P. Rocco. Thanks for the review. Boo dudes to you.
Thanks for the review. If you guys would like to be murdered at the end of our episodes, please give us a 5-star review. Write a review at the end so that we will have your name. Please sign it at the bottom. I know it'll show your weird username or anything for iTunes. Or reach out to us. Give us a nice review. Come say hi, and we'll kill you. And
get at us on the social medias at Calling All Creeps Pod on Instagram. And at callcreepspod at Gmail.
Callcreepspod on Callcreepspod on Gmail. Callcreepspod Twitter.
Cool. And send us your audio recording. Seriously, if you have anything, we'll play it on air, and we can start a little dialogue that way.
Love that. All right, so a very happy Boo Dudes to you. I'm gonna lay face down and probably take a nasty sick dump later. I'm very sick.
Simultaneously, right? You're gonna lay down, and while you're face down, you're gonna take a dump.
That's my secret.
We'll figure it out.
Something.
Hey, coming up, Valentine's Day. Special Boo Dudes to you and your loved one. Smooch dudes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You're special monster.
Bye.
Bye. Go away. All right.
Bye.
See ya.